Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got another Spark 143 Model 2 unbox, and it's the 2019 Rolex 24 third class finish Porsche 911 RSR. (2019) marked the 50th anniversary of IMSA. Dating back to the 60s, the series had its ups and downs, but its first peak was in the 1980s when Group C cars dominated the top class. To celebrate the milestone, IMSA asked teams to design throwback liveries, and Porsche was up for the challenge. With so many iconic liveries from their past, the brand knew just the one to kick off the season at the Rolex 24. Brumos Racing has won the Daytona 24 Hours 4 times, and Porsche went with the famous Brumos colors for their throwback. However, they put a unique spin on it. Instead of using the basic red and blue stripes, Porsche used the most famous racing numbers for the brand, number 59, and checkerboarded those 59s to create the stripes. Both cars looked fabulous, and come race day, the 911 was on the pole in GTLM, with the 912 starting 5th under very overcast conditions. Within the first couple of laps, the GTLM battle was fierce. The 9112 gained one spot at the bus stop, then gained another over the Ford GT heading into the first corner. Up front, the 911 and the number 3 Corvette were walking away from the field. The Vet was putting massive pressure on Tandy and gets him under braking at turn 1. A few moments later, the 912 comes into the pits for its first stop. The crew inspected the front splitter and changed the front bumper, and the car went down 2 laps. Having front splitter problems and off the lead lap this early, it was not looking good for the 912. The issue had not been fixed, and the 912 was back in the pits for more front-end work. The crew could not get the nose attached to the car. Another nose went on, and the agony and frustration was too much. The car went down 3 laps. As night fell and several cautions came out, there was a great battle for first between the 911 and the number 4 Corvette. Meanwhile, the 9112 was back on the lead lap. The 912 made it back up to 4th, battling the 911 for 3rd. But shortly after, the leading Vet and the 911 Porsche come into the pits for a routine stop. This puts the 9112 in the lead for GTLM. The battle between the Corvettes and the Porsches raged all night long. Upon a restart, both Vets get around the Porsches, and it's Corvette 1-2 and Porsche 3-4. And would continue to swap positions as the race went on. With just over 12 hours to go, the leading number 3 Vet pulls onto the apron and weaving because the car had run out of fuel. Both Porsches move up to 1st and 2nd, and the number 3 team was completely dejected, especially the fuel man. Both Porsches pit and come out nose to tail, leading GTLM, working together to maintain the lead for the brand. However, nasty weather was looming, and the radar predicted it was heading straight towards Daytona. When it hit, all cars came in for wets, including both Porsches. A wet track at night made for some exciting action and brought out many more cautions and accidents. Daytona was trying to keep the rain at bay by drying out portions of the track that was causing incidents. The 9112 was sitting in 2nd with the 911 in 4th. However, Daytona could not get the rain under control, and with just over 7 hours to go in the race, the red flag came out and the cars came into the pits to wait out the weather. The red flag lasted for over 2 hours, and the cars got back on track with 5.5 hours to go. As the green flag dropped, it was daybreak, and spray from other cars was everywhere. More carnage on the restart, which brought out yet another yellow. The Porsches fell to 2nd for the 911 and 5th for the 912. 24 hours aside, just surviving the weather was a feat in of itself. And as soon as the green flag dropped, the rain picked up and brought out many more cautions and accidents. With just under 4 hours to go, the green flag dropped again, and chaos ensued when a large group of cars lost it in turn 1, including the leading Ford GT and the 2nd place 911 Porsche. The 62 Ferrari, the 25 BMW, and the number 912 Porsche moved up to the top 3, and after more yellows, the Porsche was up to 2nd place. The BMW was right on the tail of the 912, putting massive pressure on Earl Bamber. After more cautions, the 912 Porsche was sitting 2nd behind the 67 Ford GT, and on the restart, the Porsche dropped to 5th. The rain would not let up, and race control had no choice but to red flag the race for a 2nd time. And for the first time that I know of, the checkered flag came out with just over 10 minutes left in the race. The 912 Porsche made up some positions and held on for third place in one of the wettest races I've ever seen. Here is the third in-class finish, 912 Porsche RSR in the Brumos throwback livery. As you can see, it comes in a cool US release box. We got the American flag on the back that spills over on the top. The sides are open and we can just slide it right out. Porsche was on point with all of their throwback liveries, and this is such an iconic one to look at. If you know what you're looking at, you automatically know where this livery comes from. At first glance, you can't help but notice these fat red and blue stripes, but looking closer, they are the number 59 repeated in a cool checkerboard pattern, which goes from the hood of the car all the way to the back and really completes the livery. This is a US release car, so you've got the American flag on the front of the base plate and the limited number on the back. This is number 148 of 500. And I don't have very many Rolex cars, so this is really cool to have an IMSA GTLM car. I think the silver wheels really match this white and really help set up the contrast between the blue and the red stripes on the top. It is so simple. Red, white, and blue, American colors, you gotta love it. And Spark did such an amazing job with all the little details on this car. I love the back with the big rear diffuser, and you can see the exhaust separated between the diffuser and the body panels. I love the GTLM number plate, which shows the position of the car, and just the overall clean look to it. In 2022, I actually got the opportunity to go down and see the Brumos Collection Museum in Jacksonville, Florida, and it is one of the most amazing collections. If you're ever down there, you have to go check it out. And they have a lot of old cars dating back from pre-war, and then a bunch of old Porsche race cars. But one of those cars was this one. It wasn't the 912 winning car, but it was the sister 911 car. And it was just so crazy to see it sitting there all alone. And I could go up and get as close as I wanted to it. Because when you're looking at race cars like this, it's usually on the grid or on track. There's a lot of people. You're at a race event. It's hard to actually get close and take time to enjoy and appreciate it. And that experience was so awesome. It is so amazing to see it in person. The livery really comes to life when you view it in person. The drivers on this third place car were Earl Bamber, Lawrence Van Thor, and Matthew Jaminet. They secured a third in-class finish for the brand in one of the wettest races I've ever seen. So here is the 2019 third in-class finish Porsche 912 RSR, and it's in the collection. I've only got 2 more Spark models to unbox and review. One is coming up next week, and I just pre-ordered the last one. It might be out in May. It might be out next year. I'm not really sure. But you got one video coming out next week, and then you have to wait for the final one. And then I'm going to do a whole video showing my collection and how I mounted the cars, and it's going to be really cool. So stay tuned for that. If you like this video, give me a like and a follow. I got 2 more Spark models to unbox, and we'll be doing a new video every Friday. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.